So Cam, this is the Wilkins Harley-Davidson recording studio. We deserve something fancier, but this is where we rock, right in here. See, it's Christmas time in our studio all the time. Sam.
Mark,
yeah.
You realize that as with all this discussion, people are gonna put the thumbs down on this post, right?
How could you have thumbs down with Santa in the room?
Because it just looks like shit in here.
Well, it looks like shit, but we're real. We don't glossy it up for nobody. Who are we talking to today, John?
Alyssa
Clickinger.
Clickinger.
Okay, I want to make sure I get the name pronounced correctly because you know I have problems with that.
You do. That's true. That's true.
You want a pop shield for your microphone because you tend to, like, you know, slobber a little bit when you're talking. No.
I'm just trying to get this set up, Mark. You know.
Jeez.
Okay. I mean, you don't care about the setup. That's kind of the funny part about this thing. You just kick back and relax. Well, I'm like the engineer.
You're the engineer. I'm the personality.
Right.
So let's, you know, I'm focusing on personality.
Testing. Yep, that one works.
Testing 1 2 3.
Nothing.
Testing. 1 2 3 testing. I've got signal here.
Okay. Perfect. Phone. Yep. People are gonna probably critique us on that. Like, you don't tap mics.
No, you don't.
Right.
You don't.
See, you would be the guy that would say, you don't tap mics.
Well, it's funny.
And they would post that on YouTube in the comments.
Well,
don't tap mics.
You're supposed to be the engineer. You know, that's the equipment
True story.
guy.
That's true.
I'm just the personality.
Can you do me a favor?
Uh-huh.
I can hear your earphone, your communication device.
I always do that.
You always have that on when we start talking and it comes through. These mics are very sensitive.
It's true. True story.
Sound okay?
Well, yeah, you got such a booming voice. You could be on that side of the room. You'd still be all right.
Don't post all of this either. This is crappy.
Yeah, definitely edit it in.
Let the videographer do the editing. Come on.
He's the
guy's a
engineer.
visionary. You can't.
He is visionary.
Would you tell you know, Francis Ford Coppola how to shoot a scene in a movie?
The wine guy?
He's before he was a wine guy, he was a famous director, John.
Amazing. No, it's fine. Let's leave it where it is. I left a piece of paper up here that said "Do not touch."
Yeah, it's right over here.
Perfect. Let's put it back when we're done.
Please don't touch.
Okay. This is like the equipment room. It's like a bunch of crap and stuff like that.
It's not crap. It's history. Look, we got Harry here. We've got Barbara here. Family.
Yep.
You know, a little bit of disorganization is a sign of a creative mind, and a brilliant mind, actually. You know, they said that Einstein's office was like an amazing...
Who's they?
People who knew Einstein, you know, and studied his writings. And
people that knew him?
Yeah. Well, they said that his organization was unbelievably poor.
Huh.
Just like everything was all over the place. But look what came out of that disorganization.
Right.
Right?
The atom bomb.
No, not the atom bomb.
Yeah.
I don't think Einstein's responsible.
Oh yeah,
for the
there's
atom
ties.
bomb.
Of course there is.
Oh boy.
Do your research, Mark. That'll be another piece of feedback I'm sure that we'll get on YouTube. Somebody will say they'll do all the research on this and tell me I'm wrong, or tell you you're wrong, one or the other. They'll probably tell both of us. That's usually what happens.
Well, if I'm incorrect that somehow Einstein was involved with developing the nuclear bomb,
do your research and then let's check it out.
Well,
okay.
I will do that.
We have 6 minutes.
6 minutes?
Yes.
We're unusually organized and ahead of the schedule here.
Very rare.
It's true.
Let's see if I can get the telephone number that I need to call.
3 hours difference, yeah.
We could start putting those up, you know.
Well, we have 6 minutes. Why don't we start? Is it too early to go for Christmas at this point?
No, but what I'm saying is, why don't you put some of them up today?
I was gonna say, is it too early? It's
not in here.
Oh, downstairs?
Yeah.
I don't know. People don't like Christmas too early, John. Like
so
before Thanksgiving.
People say Einstein was disorganized, and people say they don't want Christmas stuff out early. You tend to use that as a supporting evidence all the time. People say.
I'm going to own that. I believe it's too early to put Christmas up.
What's today's date?
The
October 30th.
Tomorrow's Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
it's a crime to put it up before Thanksgiving. It's really a crime to put it up before Halloween.
Who was the first person that put it up before, right around Thanksgiving?
Well, it just keeps creeping.
They were leading the charge on this, so why not us? Why not start it up around Halloween?
Well, using your logic, why don't we put it up right after the 4th of July?
I'll tell you what, I'm not kidding when I say this. Tomorrow we're going to put up Christmas stuff online. Cam is going to film us putting up Christmas stuff, and we're going to post it online and see what happens.
See what people think?
Yeah.
Some people are going to be really offended by it and say it's just commercialism gone crazy.
Uh-huh.
And some are going to be, yay, the holidays.
Yeah, not me. But
not me either.
All right, Alyssa Clickinger, Women's Motorcycle Tours. She's quite a lady.
She is quite a lady.
So you have some questions that are like real questions, and you did some real research on her?
I have at least a dozen questions here. I really want to probe this sense that I get from her that that women and motorcycles have a synergy, even more so than men and motorcycles.
I think that might be fact right now. I think, well, let's save it for the discussion, right?
Exactly.
Because I don't want to ruin this discussion. Could you do me a favor?
Yeah.
Could you close that door? Hi, Alyssa. This is John and Mark with Behind the Bars. How are you?
Hey, great. How are you?
Hey,
Good.
Alyssa, how are you?
Good. Are we still on track?
Yeah.
Perfect.
I hope my connection's okay.
Actually, when you first answered, we both looked at each other like, oh no. And then now it sounds fantastic.
Okay, great. I am connected on voice over IP. I have a landline that I can use.
No, this is fine. This sounds good.
Great.
Mark probably doesn't know what voice over IP means, but that's through the internet, Mark.
I know what that means, John. See,
Okay.
See, you'll soon find out, Alyssa, that John fancies himself like a technology wizard and
No,
an
I don't.
engineer and all that stuff.
No, I don't. Alyssa, it's
Lisa.
just Elisa. See?
Alisa.
Oh, that's what I said, Alyssa.
Well, I know, and I said it incorrectly, and we were talking about this beforehand.
What did you say, Eliza?
Doesn't matter, because now it's going to get. I don't want to use the improper. If you start saying the improper word, Elisa is her name.
Elisa, it's like Lisa with an A. Right?
Yeah, I got it. I've got it down. This is fine. Mark is the one that's trying to confuse me. Lisa Clickinger.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. All right. So, Elisa, one of the things that we do here is we'll start recording. We have a fancy studio here, and we have all this editing software, and so we can actually go back and if we need to, and edit things out. So we've had some guests over the past 3 years that have said things that they maybe wish that they hadn't. One of my favorites was well, doesn't matter who it is, but
Remember the person who told you to fuck off?
no.
You don't remember that?
No.
We edited that out.
Okay, well, either way, we've had people that have said things that you and I would know exactly who they are, and they said things accidentally, and then what we do is just keep rolling, and at the end, what we'll do is we'll sign off. We'll say, Elisa, thanks so much. Goodbye. Then we'll come back on the line, and if there's anything that you decide that you want us to edit out, just say it then.
Okay.
Make
great.
sense?
Thank you. Can
Yeah.
you make me prettier?
Well, you're already beautiful, so why do we need to touch that?
You're so slick.
Well, that's fact. We've already researched you. We've already seen a million pictures of you, so we got it down.
Well, and we like to say around here, Elisa, that John has a face for radio.
Mark has used that one a few too many times.
Yeah,
anyway,
that's true.
so Elisa, we're going to kick this off in about 10 seconds. We'll just introduce you a little bit, and then wherever it goes for 10-15 minutes in that range, and certainly we're looking forward to the discussion, so it'll be fun.
And I appreciate the opportunity. Thanks so much.
Okay. And the book, where do you want people to buy the book, by the way, just so I know?
They they can buy it on Amazon, or they can buy an autographed copy directly from me at, do you want the URL?
Yeah, well, I'll ask you that question.
Okay.
As long as I know that you're okay with the whole Amazon thing. So I know that the margins, they chew apart the margins, but I just wanted to talk about that beforehand.
Okay, great. Thanks for asking.
Plus, Mark will start asking questions about his local bookstore. Can I get it at my local bookstore? And
Bear Pond
Elisa
Books.
is not going to know whether you can get it at Bear Pond Books in Montpelier, Vermont. I'm sure they can get it, though.
Well, I'm sure it's distributed nationally, so.
Okay. Okay, we're 2 or 3 seconds out here.
Okay.
Okay, on the line with us today is Elisa Clickinger, someone that we've been after for maybe a couple months, Elisa, and trying to coordinate schedules.
Yeah, we've been speaking for a couple months. I'm really looking forward to chatting today and excited to be here. Thanks.
She's a busy woman, so thank you so much for carving out some time. Elisa, where are you today where we're reaching out? Are you in LA?
No, I actually spent the last week relocating to North Carolina.
Oh, wow, okay.
So I'm in North Carolina.
Great. Well,
Yeah.
Welcome. We're excited to have you on Behind the Bars.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we came upon Elisa. Mark and I got talking about this. Elisa has a book out, but that book is sort of, following this journey that she's been on of uniting women and motorcyclists, and specifically adventure motorcycles. Is that correct, Elisa? Adventure motorcycles is really what you've predominantly been riding on?
Myself, yes, but I think that my message, my journey and my message, and certainly my book, speak to all genres of riding. Me personally, I do an awful lot of adventure riding, but I do plenty of street riding too.
So how did this all come into being? Take us back when you first started riding. What got you into riding motorcycles?
I had a dream. I was going through a divorce, and you have a lot of stress dreams. And in this dream, I was running for my life, and in front of me, I saw a motorcycle, and I started running towards the motorcycle. And with this pursuer, right on my heels, I jumped on the motorcycle, and in the magical way of dreams, I knew how to operate it, and sped away. And literally, like, as I was speeding away, I woke up, I sat up in bed, and I was like, oh my goodness, I love that. I love that feeling. I have to do this. And that's how it all started for me. And I have to share that I was, up until that point, I had been in a family that was against motorcycles. I had actively campaigned against my sister, who actually got her motorcycle license years before me. I had campaigned against her getting her license. I was terrified of it. So this was revelational in my life, to have this dream and feel that feeling in the dream and want to do it. So yeah.
That's cool.
At
That's
the
very
time,
cool.
I said I was going through a divorce. I had one of those disposable jobs at a bank, and a couple days later, somebody in a leather jacket came in, and I said, "You, do you ride a motorcycle?" I think I freaked him out, and he said, "Yes." I asked how to get started, and he said, "Take the motorcycle safety course, and that's the best way to get started." And I did.
And what year was that, Elisa?
That was 1995.
Okay. And so you took the MSF course, learned to ride.
Yep.
What was your first motorcycle?
It was a Kawasaki 440 LTD.
Okay.
And what was so fun about it is it had been, I don't know whether it was like a complete beginner's bike or what, but it had, the forks were covered with Air Force and Navy base stickers, so it had been passed around a lot because it was at all these different, and what was also funny about it was that I didn't actually have my license when I bought it. So when I went to go take a look at it, I was too scared to ride it, so I made the guy who was selling it take me for a ride on it. And it's a 440, and this was a big dude, and I'm a large woman myself, and so the two of us on this little like putting down the road, but I just wanted to make sure that it worked before I put down my $400 on it.
That's cool. That's a cool story. So you got the bike. The bug had bit you, and yeah, and then so you started riding. How did this transform into what is now inspirational to other women? I mean, I'm what I'm reading about you is that you are one of these people out there that is inspiring others, and specifically women. So how did that come about?
Well, thanks for the flattery. And I fell in love with motorcycling. It's the feeling, the freedom. I think like I'm like a lot of women who, when we discover motorcycling, it gives us something to ourselves that's wholly ours, and it's a great way to be a part of the community. The whole motorcycling community for me was a revelation. I had this sort of built-in family of enthusiasts and people who would help me out, and at the same time, it was a solitary experience, riding and learning and challenging myself and overcoming those technical challenges. You know, motorcycling is quite difficult when you think about it. It's easy once it becomes a habit, but teaching your hands and your feet to do different things all at the same time, well, that journey and making the motorcycle perform the way that you want it to perform, that there's never any end to that learning. It's constantly teaching you something about yourself. And for me, as I developed skill on the motorcycle and built confidence and self-esteem, it helped me in other areas of my life, looking around, seeing, oh wow, maybe I can do this too, maybe I can do this too. And I think my story is pretty universal. I just happened to put it in a book, and I'm sharing it quite a bit.
And for our listeners that don't already know, what would that book be? What's the title of the book?
Oh, thanks for asking. My book is Boost Your Confidence Through Motorcycling, A Woman's Guide to Being Your Best Self on and Off the Bike.
I can see, Mark, why people refer online to her as being inspirational. I mean, some of the things that kind of gave me a little chills were like a built-in family, teaching something about yourself. The motorcycle teaches you about yourself. I mean, those statements in themselves.
Well, I'm just tingling with excitement over here for a couple of reasons. Number one, to hear the genesis of Lisa's inspiration that came from a dream, as a psych major, right. That's like huge for me because I'm sort of a post-Freudian guy.
Yeah.
I believe that our dreams really
Ivy
reveal
League. Mark is Ivy League.
None of that. It's just our dreams do reveal a lot about ourselves. And, to hear how this has transformed your life, Elisa, from a dream and I'm going to quote you because you said something on your website that really gave me goosebumps. You said motorcycles are the lens through which I view the world. I mean, I don't think I've heard anybody have that sort of passion where this machine, a mode of transportation, actually has changed your view of the world. And I was curious about that statement, Elisa. What was your view of the world before motorcycles, and what was your view after you experienced what motorcycling could do for you?
Interesting question. My view of the world, I think, before motorcycling was pretty narrow. I share in my book that I was a shy housewife, and I didn't have a lot of self-esteem, and I didn't have a lot of, hey, if I put my mind to this, I can do this. And through the skills that I gained in learning to ride a motorcycle. I'm a big proponent of safety training, by the way, and I take 2-3 trainings every year. I'm constantly trying to build my skills, and that in turn builds my confidence, and that in turn, makes me feel more confident, more capable, and like I said, that does sort of spill over to other areas of my life. So now, part of the reason why it was so difficult for me to come on the podcast was because I just spent a month overseas. I was riding in Spain, Portugal, and Morocco. I was covering a motorcycle tour for Motorcycle Consumer News, a magazine that I have a column in, and I've just made motorcycling my entire life, and I'm privileged enough to be able to travel on two wheels and see different parts of the world, and that in turn helps me learn more about myself and other people and the world around me, and I'm able to bring that back to my followers, which is all just super cool stuff. And motorcycling has become everything for me. My vocation. My partner's in the motorcycle industry. Motorcycling is my lifeblood, I guess.
Well, you're not the first woman who has talked about motorcycles transforming their lives, and so I'm starting to think, or I'm sure that it's the case that motorcycles for women are something completely different. I mean, when we get together a bunch of guys and we talk about motorcycles, we talk about like horsepower and pipes and burnouts and stuff that's like macho-y kind of stuff. Like John does that all the time.
Take it easy. I don't talk about those things, but whatever. Go ahead.
Well, John's a relatively modern guy, but there's this type of guy. But for women, when I talk to them about motorcycles, it's rarely about the machine or the performance or any of those sort of visceral things that happen on a motorcycle. It's all about sort of personal, spiritual things that happen on a motorcycle. Now, to be fair to John, I poke fun at him. He also talks about that experience that he has when he rides. But I think that motorcycles have emerged for women as a tool to gain confidence, as your book talks about, and the very title of your book does. But somehow or another, it seems to me that this should have happened a long time ago, because motorcycles were around for many, many, many years before what seems to be like a movement of women adopting motorcycling. And so I'm curious, what are your thoughts, Alyssa, about what was restricting women from motorcycle riding before? Is it coincide with the changes that we're experiencing in general in our country? What are your thoughts about that?
That's another excellent question. I think that the timing is right. I think both in the industry and in sort of the world movement. I think that society is changing, and the motorcycle industry is too. Women are nearly 20% of all riders now. And women, just on a grassroots level, I think women, when women can see themselves in an activity, in a sport, in a product, if the motorcycle industry right now is using more images of women, so more and more women can see images of themselves and imagine it for themselves, and that gets them interested and moving forward towards going through the rider courses and getting motorcycles. Women also network differently than men. Women really are about community, and I think that a lot has to do with the internet, actually, because there's Facebook groups. There are so many Facebook groups, women supporting women in terms of motorcycling or building your business or whatever, and I'm seeing women come together all over the globe, rallying around different bits of information and experiences, and that's a big discussion. But I think that internet has really opened up the world to us and helped us see ourselves, and and I just have to put a plug for the industry itself, because there's never been a better time to be a motorcyclist. And we have the best products, the best, safety equipment, the safety apparel, helmets, the technology behind the helmets and the motorcycle and the ABS and lean angle sensors and all this stuff. And then we've got racing that brings, that, and we're able to see those races worldwide in the comfort of our own home, on our handheld device or on a laptop or on a TV. I just think that it's really an exciting time for motorcycling, and people, it's easier than ever to spread that excitement.
So, Elisa, tell me or tell us a little bit about this Centennial motorcycle ride, which I think is really exciting. And is that open to men and women, or is this just women to support the cause? Tell our listeners about what that ride is all about. It's coming 2020.
Yeah, sure thing. We have a website, www.centennialride.com, and my plan is to take at least 1,000 women across the United States on motorcycles, celebrating women's suffrage, women's right to vote. That 100-year anniversary is coming up next year in August of 2020, and we're going to travel from the West Coast to the East Coast. It is a female-focused event, but men are welcome to join. What I like to say is that men need to be attached to a woman somehow. They need to register with a woman. We don't want it to be so men need to register with a woman, but I will definitely have a lot of men on staff, and we've already had a lot of men that are interested in coming along with us. It's a big celebration, is what it is. What I like to do is I like to wrap my big motorcycle events around a historic event. In 2016, we were celebrating the first 2 women to ride their own motorcycles across the country. And then now, 2020, it takes me 2 to 4 years to plan one of these massive events. So 2020 was and women's suffrage was the perfect opportunity. Because I like wrapping events around historical events, also because it gives us media coverage, and I think that it's really important for us to spread the positive image of motorcycling outside of the motorcycle industry, and show people, again, it's back to showing people images of themselves, and showing what a great community we have, what awesome machines we have, what incredible opportunities there are for two-wheel coast-to-coast events.
So, Elisa, you travel to some very exotic places on these tours, Africa, Morocco. You mentioned a bunch of very interesting places. I'm curious, can you talk about an experience in somewhere like that, in Africa or Morocco, that was particularly memorable for you? And I'm also really curious about what is the reaction of the local people in these communities when 100-odd women come riding through their place, their town, their village, whatever. What's the reception been like? I mean, it's got to be pretty unusual in those places to see this sort of thing.
Yeah, well, for the big events, we let them know that we're coming, and I'll use Marion, Iowa as an example. We told them that we were coming, and they rolled out the red carpet. I mean, they hosted an ice cream social for us on the town green, and the Lions Club was there cooking us burgers, and the mayor was there to give me a proclamation. They were proclaiming, the Women's Motorcycle Day for the town of Marion. I mean, it's just really, really incredible. I think presented with the right face, people are just so welcoming of motorcyclists.
And would you say that's true?
Do that over and over again.
Was that also true in places like Africa, where I have never been to Africa, so I can't really say what's the infrastructure like? Is it modern? Is it all? What sort of places did you travel through in Africa?
Okay, so on my women's motorcycle tour, Waterfalls and Wildlife tour in Africa in 2018, we were in Namibia, Botswana, and we just went over the border into Zimbabwe to see Victoria Falls. This was not a group of 100 people. That would have a very different, I think, locals would have a very different reaction to that. We were a group of 12 women, and that's one of the exceptional experiences that I offer every year through my company. Africa is a big continent. It really depends on where you go. We go to very safe, it's bad business to go to places where, your people are not going to have a good time. So we purposely went to countries that have very, very good infrastructure. We're not talking tribal Africa. We're talking about places that have been colonized long before we were in the United States. Centuries of infrastructure and development, and we stayed at lodges and very nice upscale places that are used to hosting travelers and tourists and multinational tourists and travelers.
That makes sense. I somehow my imagination ran away with me a little bit. I was imagining you on a dual sport riding with like rhinos and elephants and giraffes and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, there's a little element of that because Botswana is one of the countries that hasn't been completely fenced off yet. So there is quite a bit of game that you might see from the backs of the motorcycles, and you do have to be careful. In the United States, you might see, we saw wild pigs. How often do you see that in America? Driving across, we saw them on the side of the highway. But in like Botswana, it might be monkeys. It might be, heck, one time I saw a giraffe. I had an incredible experience riding along, and somebody, this was in Namibia, somebody rode up beside me, and he was pointing at me, and I thought, oh my God, there's something wrong with my bike, and I kept looking down, and I didn't see any oil spilling on my boots or anything like that, and I kept looking at them, and he kept pointing at me. I don't know, after about 3 times at that, I turned my head to the left, and there was a bull giraffe who we had spooked with the motorbike, and he was like running alongside of me, sort of pacing me, and then I just sort of like rolled off the throttle with my mouth wide open, collecting dust. I couldn't believe that. Oh, it was just one of those experiences. I started crying in my helmet. Like how many times in this world do you get to have that experience? It was just spectacular.
Yeah.
Elisa, when you mentioned some of the places, or we've read about some of the places that you've ridden motorcycles, it gives me a little anxiety, and I think maybe it clarifies that you're riding in areas that are, better infrastructure and whatnot, but still relatively, you're still outside America and there's still challenges. What are some things that allow the group of ladies that ride with you when I would assume that that's the impetus for this book, that you've seen confidence increase in yourself and others. What are those things in the book that you would tell someone that maybe hasn't read the book or hasn't been on one of these rides that can help instill some confidence in their abilities and their future?
Yeah, great question. Overcoming the negative self-talk is huge for women. We grow up with whatever messaging we grow up with, and taming that self-talk is really important. We also, one of the things I talk about in the book is the imposter syndrome, where you get to a position and you're an authority, and then you suddenly look around and you think, oh God, am I really an authority? Do I really, deserve to be here? And I don't know why we get that so much, so it's important to surround yourself with people who are positive and who build you up, lift you up, instead of tear you down. And we're very often our own worst enemies. And so that's what I mean about taming the negative self-talk. When you find yourself, developing a mindfulness practice is very important to sort of taming that. And then if you notice, there's that voice again. Okay, thank you for sharing. But
recognizing that.
Choose to think a different thought.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Well, Elisa, Mark has like 3 or 4 pages of questions and whatnot, and I often have to slow things down. I know you're a busy person. I know we've whipped through 20 minutes of podcast, 24 minutes actually, faster than I thought we were going to go. Mark, do you have any additional questions before we let Elisa get back to planning some of these different rides?
No,
that you just are dying to get out to ask?
And no, I think we've touched on the themes that I was most interested in. Elisa, you're fascinating to talk to, and I really could talk to you for another hour.
Well, I'd love to follow up. I think the listeners are going to tell us that we follow up maybe in September when she's resting from this Centennial motorcycle ride.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
I just want to put in real quick that I will be on the IMS show circuit. I don't know if your listeners will be attending the shows.
A lot do.
I have my own booth.
Okay. Awesome.
And they can come ask me questions in person there. And can I tell you where to find my book?
Of course, we would love to hear that. Amazon, I know, is one place that it can be seen. But if I understand that maybe you have some potential autographed copies out there.
Yes, I do have autographed copies. They are available on my womensmotorcycletours.com website. So it's www.womensmotorcycletours.com/confidence book. And you can get an autographed copy there. It's a couple dollars more because I have to ship it again. That's out to you. But yeah, I'd love to share the book. And through my website, anybody can ask me questions about anything, traveling overseas. I write for a variety of magazines. That's how I put gas in my tank. So I just love supporting the community because it's given so much to me. And anyone, feel free to reach out, ask questions.
Awesome. Well, Elisa, we really sincerely appreciate your time. I know you're busy, especially with a move. What I'd love to do is circle back in September, that time frame, and learn a little bit about the Centennial motorcycle ride that's riding to DC and in honor of the 19th Amendment, right to vote for women. We'd love to hear about all the stories and that goes along with that ride.
Great. Let's circle back after the ride's over.
Wonderful. Elisa, thank you so much for joining Behind the Bars.
Thank you, Elisa.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been really fun. So, thank you.
Thank you. You're leading it off?
Yep. John, this was a fascinating podcast with Elisa Clickinger. I get the sense that you guys are kindred spirits.
I think it's Elisa.
Okay, let's try again. What did I say, Elisa?
Yeah.
Elisa. I had it right through the podcast. Elisa. Hey, John, fascinating podcast with Elisa Clickinger.
Yes.
I got the sense in the discussion that you guys are sort of kindred spirits. You know why?
Well, I don't. What are your thoughts?
Well, remember when she was talking about driving through Africa on her motorcycle and she saw a giraffe?
Yeah.
Remember when you and I were in Cleveland and we had a couple beers one night and you thought you saw a giraffe in downtown Cleveland?
No.
Yeah, I remember it specifically. So you guys got that in common?
She is a fascinating lady. This was a fun podcast and it whipped by.
And you both saw giraffes.
Done.